Are you happy? Last Wednesday, number 30.
I think we're 30. Are we 34? 34.
Yep. And we are going to make, after begging AJ, we're going to make this a very short one versus the long one in the past.
Unless you have a lot of questions. So can you guys see me and hear me? Because we need to know before we get started.
Yeah, so there's Bailey. Wave to Bailey.
Bailey waved to you guys. Asked me to show Bailey on this episode, so I'm going to put her down in a minute because even though she's 14 pounds and a rescue, a purebred that is also a rescue from the shelter. Anybody can see and hear, Kenny?
Put a little star, put a little
thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
If you can hear.
That's
and
good.
If you can see.
We got Robin Carter here.
And she said she can see and hear.
There we go, Tammy. We're ready to go. We got 22.
All right, here we go. So Bailey, I'm going to put you down now. And I want to start by thanking Janine Elder of www.bananawisdom.com for this awesome shirt that's in my favorite color, purple.
Is potato shirt?
I know. Janine, it should be Potato Wisdom. So this is the Potato Squad, and she actually sold me two that she personalized, one for Mary McDougall and one for Dr. Gustavo Tolosa, where she put the names. She put Mary, John, and Craig on Dr. McDougall's, and Gustavo and Dr. McDougall, I forget who the third one. So thank you. It's a really soft, high-quality shirt, so thank you so much. So thank you for watching another episode of Weight Loss Wednesday. This is episode 34. I'm Chef AJ, the creator of the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, and this is where I answer your questions about healthy, permanent, and sustainable weight loss. The best way to submit a question is to go to my website at www.eatunprocessed.com. And if you like these, please consider sharing them either live right now while we're on Facebook or on YouTube, because I always get them on about 24 hours. I do want to announce that we will not be having a live episode next week, but we will be having a pre-recorded episode with my partner in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, John Pierre.
Jean.
He's not French, no, Jean. It's actually John. So hopefully you'll watch that. Where I'm going to be next week, Rancho La Puerta, Mexico for 8 days in beautiful Tecate. If you ever get a chance to go there, I highly recommend it. The week after at the spa in Ojai called the Oaks. And then I will be at the Spokane Veg Fest on Saturday, July 22nd, and the following weekend at the PCRM conference. So that's my schedule for
PCR conference?
In Washington, D.C.
With Neil?
With Dr. Neil Barnard, and Dr. Ellen Goldhammer is going to be there, and Dr. Anthony Lim, and it's going to be fantastic. And
Who's Dr. Anthony Lim?
Who's Dr. Anthony Lim? Well, I'm going to have to interview him so you can know. He is the medical director of the McDougall 10-day program, and he is one of the staff doctors at True North Health, and he's extraordinary. You can find him on YouTube. So any questions from the live audience before I go with the written questions?
Well, they're all trying to catch up and take a breath because you're such a busy girl.
I'm so busy, very busy. So I hope to stay home soon. My new book will be coming out very soon. It's going to the copy editor on Friday. I want to thank you all for your wonderful suggestions, and we loved all of them. I don't yet want to announce the name yet until I buy the domain name, but it's pretty good. And I was on the phone with Dr. Goldhammer for about 90 minutes because he didn't like the title that I had, and I wanted to make sure he liked it. And I think it's a pretty good one. I think you'll like it. And hopefully that'll be ready by the time I get to Denver on August 19th, because I don't think it'll be ready by PCRM in July. So here we go. I'm sorry I don't know who asked this question, because sometimes when Charles sends them to me, he sends them to me without your name, but that's okay. I would imagine if you're watching, you'll know it's your question, and sometimes people prefer to ask these anonymously. So there is some data that has shown that postmenopausal women have difficulty regulating their leptin and ghrelin hormones, which control hunger and satiety.
I'm so glad I showed up today.
Due to the lack of estrogen. This can drive women to overeat because they underestimate their satiety signals. Can you comment on this? Yes and no. This is what I can comment on. What I cannot comment on is the medical part about the ghrelin and the leptin. And this is, again, please come to the live Ultimate Weight Loss Conference in September. You want to hold this up, Kenny. And these are great questions for Dr. Ellen Goldhammer, Dr. Carrie Saunders, and Dr. Doug Lyle. And they'll be happy to answer your questions because they're going to be doing Q&As. Actually, Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer are going to be doing one together.
September 2nd, 3rd, Las Vegas.
Are you going to come, Kenny? You can come.
Tuscany Resort and Casino.
Are you coming, Kenny?
Ultimate Weight Loss Live 2017. You got Chef AJ on top, John Pierre. Who's that other guy? Is that
Alan Goldhammer.
Alan Goldhammer, Doug Lyle, and Carrie Saunders.
So, are you going to come, Kenny? Are you coming?
Carrie Saunders is going to be amazing.
She's very pretty. She's very, very pretty, but she's engaged now. Oh. So these are great questions for them. So I can't answer them as a doctor in the frame of reference as far as ghrelin and leptin are concerned. But what I can answer is this, where ultimate weight loss is concerned, is does it really matter? And what I mean by that is, yes, it may make, let's just say worst case scenario, because people come to me all the time, well, I can't lose weight because I'm hypothyroid. This is to give you another example. Well, I'm hypothyroid too, and for whatever reason, I chose not to take medicine until it was almost too late. So in other words, these 50 pounds that I have lost and kept off for 5 years, I did it while being extremely hypothyroid and not medicating. Now, it took me a lot longer. It took me 27 months to lose 47 pounds. But the point is it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter and minimize what you're experiencing, but at the end of the day, it's the food. Like Dr. McDougall says, it's the food. And it's really the environment. It's the food that's in the environment. So even if you have circumstances that makes it more difficult for you to lose weight, and the number one circumstance that's going to make it difficult is you're a female. Because as Dr. Goldhammer said, females are energy conserving, estrogen producing fat storage machines. And we're designed that way biologically because we have to carry children.
Women.
You can go on the most perfect diet, you and your husband, and he'll lose 3 pounds a week and you'll lose maybe a half to 1 pound a week. It sucks, but that's the way it is. So no matter what your conditions are that makes it more difficult for you to lose weight, such as what you're talking about here, which I don't have a name for, or being hypothyroid, or maybe even, God forbid, being in a wheelchair or being disabled or having an accident so that you can't exercise. At the end of the day, all that really matters is the food. Because let's just say that this ghrelin and leptin thing caused you to overeat, or you were on some kind of medication that caused you to be hungry and overeat. What you're eating is going to make a difference, because if all you had was vegetables in your house, it doesn't really matter how much you overeat on non-starchy vegetables, which are 67 calories to 125 calories per pound. You could eat, if you're a 150-pound woman, you need at least 1,500 calories a day to maintain your weight, at least 10 calories per pound of body weight for your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories you burn at rest. I guarantee you would not be able to eat 15 pounds of vegetables. And I know that because I eat 4 pounds of vegetables a day, and I'm stuffed and I'm eating all day. So yes, while these things that happen to us medically, or things that can happen to make weight loss more challenging and difficult, it's very possible, but it doesn't mean anything if you are eating the diet we recommend in Ultimate Weight Loss Program, which is eating to the left of the red line. Now, even eating to the left of the red line, you sometimes have to tweak things a little bit and negotiate your ratio of non-starchy vegetables to starch. But you can't lose weight at a calorie density of 567 calories per pound or less, and that's what you are eating if you are really following the Ultimate Weight Loss Program. I mean, there's things that people do that make following this program more difficult, and I don't want to say they lie about it, but they don't come to the program and tell us that they're doing it. But there are people that are smoking and drinking alcohol and drinking Diet Coke. I had a consult today with a young lady that has been drinking 10 cans of Diet Coke for almost 50 years. Now, if I had a live-in program, for example, like the Optimum Health Institute or True North Health, anybody that smoked or drank alcohol or, drank, I think probably if they drank coffee, I'd let them in, or drank Diet Coke, I wouldn't even work with, because I don't see people being successful when they're using drugs like aspartame. I talk about this a lot. People say, well, what's wrong with stevia, and what's wrong with xylitol and erythritol and mannitol and aspartame? Well, first of all, what's right with it? They're a microbiome nightmare. They're a GI nightmare. But here's the thing. When you have these diet products or diet sodas or these fake sweeteners or 0-calorie sweeteners, because stevia isn't necessarily fake when it's in the green leaf form, but the people that are using it aren't using it in the green leaf form. They're using it in the powdered liquid, or in the powdered form or the liquid form, which goes through the same refining process as drugs and alcohol. Those things perpetuate food cravings, especially in those that suffer from food addiction, because they cause you to exponentially overeat, because it is a high concentration of sweet taste that doesn't exist in nature. And when your tongue tastes sweet without a calorie reward, your brain does squirt out these satiety hormones that we talked about in the question that cause you to overeat. So if you're drinking Diet Coke, you're going to have cravings all day. So again, I don't want to say that if you're drinking Diet Coke or smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol, you'll never be successful. You might be, but it's not going to be because of my program, and it's not going to be on my program, the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, because those things aren't included. But I can tell you that I've worked with over 2,000 people now, which pales in comparison to the number of people that a Dr. McDougall or Lyle or Goldhammer have worked with, which is in the tens of thousands. But I can tell you that I've never had a client that was successful that smoked cigarettes, drank alcohol, or drank diet soda. So when you do these things that, coffee, yes, I have had successful clients that drink coffee, but usually it's just 1 cup a day. It's decaf and that's it. So when you have these other barriers or things that roadblocks, it makes it just so much more difficult. So my advice to that client was to do everything she can to get off the Diet Coke. And I know it's not easy because I had to get off it myself in 1987, and I had to go to Maui for 8 days and sit on the beach and basically have a headache and cry for 8 days. But I knew how bad it was because they were telling us, even back 30 years ago, the doctors were telling us things that we don't even know now, the link to cancer and stroke and dementia. So it's poison. Soda is used in other countries for cleaning toilets. So I don't recommend any soda, but I certainly recommend diet soda even less. And
what do you recommend it to clean toilets?
To clean toilets. Actually, it's cheaper. You go to the 99-cent store, you get a 6-pack of Diet Coke when they have it, and that's your toilet cleaner. It's cheaper than toilet cleaner.
So we have a lot of people sharing your site today, which is wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Helps us grow. One lady, there's 2 questions here. One was talking about the elimination diet, which we'll get to. And the second question that someone said is that their sister is on Synthroid. That's a hormone replacement therapy.
Want
to know if they get in your diet, would that help?
Well, I think, first of all, when you say my diet, it's not my diet. I know, right. But now I just want to really clarify this because people say, it's not McDougall, This diet, it's not even his diet. It's, if you believe in God, it's God's diet or nature's diet, because these are the foods that have been around since the beginning of time, that exist in nature and have been eaten by people that were healthy and lean throughout human history. It's a diet based on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. So it's not my diet. It is my program, the Ultimate Weight Loss Program. But to be clear, it's not my diet.
My issue.
No, it's okay. But I'm glad you said that, because it's important to clarify that. First of all, it's not even a diet, because the way I eat for optimal health, disease prevention, disease reversal, happens to actually work beautifully for weight loss. And my thin husband eats the same way, even though he's never had a problem with his weight or food addiction.
Falling off like mine.
Right, and Sharon McRae, for example, who I talk about a lot. If you need help transitioning families, we're going to be interviewing her on July 3rd, Gustavo and I, for the second in our series of Mastering the Environment. If you did not see our video Monday night, our webinar with Dr. Doug Lyle and Dr. Tolosa on Mastering the Environment, Part 1, it's on YouTube now. I really recommend you go to my channel, Chef AJ, subscribe, and watch that video. I'm going to talk a little bit about it today. But Sharon McRae eats this way. She's never been a food addict or overweight. Her husband eats this way, and her 3 teenage children eat this way, and they've been eating this way since they were very, very young. So it's not my diet, it's my program, because it's a comprehensive program. The diet is the diet that I learned at my time at True North Health Center, the diet that's been taught by Dr. Alan Goldhammer for 32 years, that's been served there, and it's pretty much the same diet that Dr. McDougall teaches. There's a little bit of difference because in the True North diet style and my program, we don't allow any amount of sugar or salt or flour, and we've gone into this in many episodes because of the addictive properties and the triggering properties, but it's very, very close, if not the same as Dr. McDougall's maximum weight loss program, so it's not my diet. So here's the thing. Again, these are great questions for your doctor, or specifically Dr. Alan Goldhammer, who is so kind and generous that if you go on his website, www.healthpromoting.com, you can click on the box and ask for a free consult. It takes about a week after you fill out the intake form, and he'll talk to you for about 20 minutes on the phone.
He's a busy camper.
Yep. Even if you don't go to True North, you'll at least know if True North's right for you. But I'm not saying that people cannot get off their thyroid medicine. I have heard that they have, but I think it just is going to depend on what your thyroid function is now. And that's something you definitely want to work with your medical doctor or your endocrinologist with. And the medical doctors, by the way, at True North, almost all of them do either phone or Skype consults. The last time I had one, it was $95. It was very, very reasonable. But eating this way improves everything, but it doesn't cure everything. So if somebody has, say, schizophrenia or things like that, I'm not saying you're going to be normal, not that you're, you know what I'm trying to say, but it generally improves everything. It's really great for other mental illnesses like anxiety and depression. It doesn't do anything for OCD. Let me tell you that right now. So, but what it's great for is weight loss. It's great for disease prevention of things like heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune disease, even reversal. I don't want to ever claim that it cures cancer or reverses cancer, but the things we know, people that are diabetic and have heart disease, hypertension, high triglycerides, high cholesterol. If you want to listen to Shada's story on my YouTube page, the gal that lost over 100 pounds and has kept it off 5 years now, she was on medications for everything before Kenny introduced us about 6 years ago. She looks amazing, and she's single, by the way. So no, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to improve your thyroid function. Dr. Goldhammer says that Hashimoto's thyroiditis, he believes there's a link with gluten and not to eat wheat. But again, these are great doctor questions, and I'm sorry, I just can't get into the medical realm.
Eating this way also helps the elimination, so you know what you're sensitive to.
Well, here's the thing. So you mentioned an elimination diet. Is the viewer asking what an elimination diet is, or how to do it?
Well, she's asking. It also helps get rid of sensitivities and see what you're sensitive to.
Well, there's nothing wrong with doing an elimination diet, and actually for food addiction, it can be a really useful tool. There's a way outlined on drmcdougall.com on his website and how to do it. One of the questions I have today, because people have been asking so much on YouTube where they make the comments after these videos are loaded, is about what I eat. And I'm going to talk about that, but as I lead up to talking about that, I will tell you that I was on an elimination diet for 8.5 months. I was very sick with a major GI issue in 2014. So from November 20th, which was a Sunday, 2014, to June 15th, which was a Tuesday, 2015, for 8.5 months, I had very, very bad GI symptoms. I had nonstop bloating where I looked like I was 9 months pregnant. I had diarrhea. I had pain. And I went to 14 doctors, and it was just, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So during that time, the only two foods that I could eat without having symptoms or having less symptoms was sweet potatoes and zucchini. Now, what's interesting about this is that during that 8.5 months on the elimination diet of all elimination diets, I did not lose any weight. People think if they eat this way, you're just going to keep losing weight till you fade away. Nope, I've been this weight for 5 years now, and I eat a lot of food. We're going to talk about that. So you don't continually lose weight till you get down to zero, just so you know. But I was shocked thinking, how, if I'm only eating two foods, can I maintain my weight? Well, because your body finds its perfect weight and you maintain it as long as you eat enough calories. But a lot of people say, well, isn't that boring just eating the same thing for 8.5 years? I don't know. Talk to Andy. Andy's doesn't like being called Andy. Andy Taylor, like Mayberry RFD. Andrew. Talk to Andrew Spudfit Taylor, who ate nothing but potatoes for a year, or the two individuals that did the same thing previously in the KON potato study.
He drank beer, though.
Yeah, no, we don't know how much he drank, but that's not a potato. Actually, if you drink vodka, I would have said, okay, that's from a potato. Just kidding, Andrew. But here's the thing. See, to me, that would be more boring because that's one food. I had two foods, but what you have to understand is there was still a wide variety within my limitation. And so when you think about it, people think of sweet potatoes as the orange sweet potato, but it's technically a yam. It's called the garnet yam. That's the most popular that most people eat at Thanksgiving and make pies out of and sweet potato fries out of. But that's my least favorite. I eat them, but I was eating a minimum of 5 different varieties of sweet potatoes during these 8.5 months. So I was rotating. I was eating the garnet yam, the Hana yam, the Hawaiian sweet potato, the Japanese or sweet potato, and the Stokes. So right there, I'm eating 5 different kinds of potatoes. They all taste differently. I was using various cooking methods, and every cooking method tasted different. Now, I wish I had had my air fryer during that time. It would have just really been easy to do this. So when I microwave it, it tastes different than when I steam it on the stove, and it tastes different than when I steam it in the Instant Pot, and it tastes different than when I cut it into cubes and break it on the Silpat tray, and it tastes different when I mash it and eat it as mashed potatoes, and it tastes entirely different when I roast it.
Or potato salad.
Well, I wasn't doing potato salad with the sweet potatoes, but see, right now, I'm not really good at math, but I think if you go 6 times 5 times 4, the different combinations between the 5 varieties of sweet potatoes, the 6 cooking methods, plus all the different varieties. I wasn't just eating green zucchini. I was eating that whole family of summer squash. So they were green, they were yellow, the crookneck. There was one called chayote, I believe. So there was a lot of different varieties. And with the zucchini, I was spiralizing it and eating it raw. I was eating it steamed. I was eating it roasted. I was eating it in the Instant Pot. I was eating it grilled. So I never got bored because even though I was eating 2 foods, the combinations were endless. And it really helped me as a person that has never actually done the therapeutic water fast at True North. The longest I've ever fasted was about 40 hours, the day that my dog Sparky died. I learned so much that first of all, that you can be happy with any food you have, and that to learn to be grateful, and that we're basically spoiled in this country, but that if you like the food you're eating, you're going to be happy, because I picked basically my two favorite foods. I picked my favorite vegetable, and I picked my favorite starch, and to this day, when I can eat a wider variety of food, that's still my go-to because it's comfort food to me. So the idea with the elimination diet is you pick a starch, you pick a non-starchy vegetable, and it could be rice. You pick two, and that's all you eat. And then you introduce different foods. And you keep a very accurate food journal. And, even when I had allergy testing to find out my food allergies like soy and milk, which I wouldn't have drank anyway, and black pepper, even the immunologist recommended that we do this, and that he always said the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And with an elimination diet, see, I'm not sure how long you need to stay on it to test yourself. I'm sure it's at least a week, if not longer. And then you eat that diet that you're not going to react to, and then you slowly introduce foods one at a time, and then you see if you react. And it's a great way to test if you're sensitive to gluten or nightshades. And for people that suffer from food addiction, it is just miraculous, because variety is the kiss of death for the food addict. And the more courses you eat, the more flavors you introduce at meals, the more you're going to exponentially overeat. And so it really teaches you to really just eat when hungry and stop when full, which, by the way, if everybody did, nobody would be overweight, even if they were eating the standard American diet. But the problem is the foods that most Americans eat, 92% of which come from animal products and processed foods, almost 72% from processed foods. These foods are so unsatiating. They have no fiber, they have no water, they have no micronutrients, phytochemicals, or antioxidants, that it's impossible to actually feel full on them until you've overeaten on calories. So it was really a great learning experience for me, this, and what seemed like a horrible thing at the time turned out to be the greatest blessing, because now I know I can go without food if I have to, and I can eat as limited of a variety as I have to and still be happy. It's like Andrew Spudfoot Taylor says, if you keep your food boring, you make your life exciting. And I didn't find it boring. I found it delicious. Any questions about that, or I'll move on to that?
They were asking some various questions if they should do this elimination diet before they do McDougall diet or meal plan. But I think
nobody has to. Okay, well, here's the thing. If you're not having symptoms, there's no reason to do an elimination diet. Right. Just do the McDougall program, and that's what. And by the way, that's what I told. I'm going to get to the last question in just a second. I have to tell a little story, and I'm sorry, Kenny. I know you wanted this to go short, but I told my client today who said that she just can't do ultimate weight loss. It's too hard, and I'm like, don't do it. If you really watch this show and listen to what I say, I always say this is the last stop on the train. Do the least restrictive program you can do to get the results you want. Now, the problem is the pleasure trap, because sometimes a less restrictive program, which is easier and more enjoyable for some people, has certain things in it, specifically the flour, the sugar, and the salt, or maybe the high-fat plant foods, that are such pleasure trap foods or trigger foods for people that it makes it difficult for them to moderate the use of. But what we learned from Dr. Doug Lisle is that if the bar is set too high for some people, especially people that are intelligent and conscientious, they won't even try. So they'll fail on purpose to show they're not trying. And what this is called is the ego trap. And if you want to learn more about it, go to the McDougall website, and he did a webinar about this called Dare to Be Lousy. And he used the example of, like, when a parent tells a kid, oh, you're just so smart, you're going to go to an Ivy League college, and the kid knows he doesn't have the chops to do it. And so instead of trying his hardest, which would maybe only get him a B, he fails boldly and in front of everyone to say, see, I'm not even trying. And that's what people do with diets. And I know this because we did a beta test where someone came to live with me for 8 months, somebody who I believe was a severe food addict who had gained quite a bit of weight. And by the way, if you come live with me, you promise you're not going to be overweight. Everybody here leans down, even guests that just come for a few days. We had a friend staying with us. So the thing is I actually had a session with Dr. Doug Lisle after the gal left to try to figure out what was going on, and he explained that she was stuck in what is called the ego trap. And the reason is this was a person that was very intelligent and very conscientious, very high level in her job, well respected, made a lot of money, people looked up to her at work. And so what happens is when you are intelligent and conscientious in other areas, but you're still overweight, Dr. Lisle said the world looks at her and says, you're so smart, you're so conscientious, why are you so fat? Because they feel that you're also able to solve this problem, which, by the way, you're not, so stop beating yourself up. 98% of people that lose weight gain it all back, and then some within 2 years. So apparently there's only even 2% of the people in the history of the world that can solve this problem, that can actually get out of the pleasure trap, lose weight, and stay out. So the fact that you're beating yourself up for something that only 2% of the population can do is ridiculous. And so to get out of the ego trap, all you really have to do is do a little bit better and show what's called your internal audience, which is like a facsimile of everybody else, that you're trying. And so most people can't go from an F diet, like eating at McDonald's every day, to ultimate weight loss.
Let's keep it the sad diet.
Yeah. So the thing is you can do a little better. Right. So instead of having, McDonald's, could you have baked potato? Could you do so I tell people all the time, just do the McDougall program. If it works for you, please don't come to me. This is for people that they can't.
Everyone's saying don't come. You said don't come.
No.
Everyone here, all these beautiful ladies are saying, I want to move in with AJ.
Yeah, well, actually, one of the reasons that we're trying desperately to move out of this apartment is so we can have a casitas or a guest house, so that we can actually have people, 1 to 2 people, come for actual immersions, because I really feel that if I can get somebody under my wing like that, I can make a tremendous difference. And so that's that. So
the next question coming, and we got Shay down line here, we got Sharon here, and you said Janine Elder gave
this to me.
She's on here too.
But can I just finish up with the ego trap, because I learned so much from Dr. Lyle. And by the way, $75 for a session, guys. You can't go wrong. He's brilliant. Nice. He said that the problem is the ego trap and the pleasure trap are at war with each other. They're at odds with each other. And so to get out of the ego trap, it's really easy if you go to True North and fast or commit to doing ultimate weight loss. But the problem is it's too hard for most people most of the time. And so when you give them a little bit more lenient program, it will get them out of the ego trap. But because some of these foods are still pleasure trap foods, it keeps them stuck in the pleasure trap. And this is the dance that many people have to do, unfortunately. So the other way to get out of the ego trap is to exercise, something that most people aren't doing. Show your internal audience that you're serious and mean business. We had developed 10 strategies in ultimate weight loss to help people lose weight and prevent relapse and recover from relapse. And when this gal stayed with me, she wasn't doing one of them. So, it's tough. It's a hard problem. So don't beat yourself up for most people aren't going to do this.
Well, Janine says she made a big impression on her and changed a lot of things.
Well, nice.
She's very excited.
Nice, thank you.
So that's pretty amazing.
Before I tell you guys what I eat, because I've been getting that question a lot, I think I've answered it at almost every episode in many of my webinars. I really, before you guys watch another episode, and remember, I'm not live next week, so before I come back in 2 weeks, and there'll be a quiz on this, I really want you to watch that webinar I did with Dr. Lyle. It's on the environment, because I have been saying publicly since 2014, I've been saying it in my private classes before that the environment is the #1 predictor of your success. And if it's in your house, it's in your mouth, and it's not a question of if you will eat it, only when, and that no willpower is required to eat something that's not there. But nobody listened to me or believed me. Every time we have a relapse in ultimate weight loss, I say, where'd you get it? They said, in the house. So I did this webinar with Dr. Lyle, and I really want you to...
If it's in the house, it's in your mouth.
Absolutely. But let me just give you an analogy, and hopefully this will help you explain that why, until you clean up your environment, you may have success, but it's probably going to be short-lived. You're probably not going to keep, because people say, oh, well, I've had non-compliant food in my house and lost weight. Have you kept it off, though, for 5 years with non-compliant food in your house? Probably not. So let me just give you a little bit of an analogy here about how ridiculous it is to think that you can have non-compliant food in your house and be slender and be healthy and have it be easy without it draining your willpower and have it just be constant source of stress for you. So there's this guy, and he was hammering nails into the wall to hang pictures. And he made a miscalculation, and Kenny's doing sound effects. They call that, I think, Foley in the movies. And he nailed a rusty nail into his thumb, which hurt a lot. It hurt a lot. So he went to the doctor, and he told the doctor, oh my gosh, I am in so much pain. This rusty nail went into my thumb, and I'm in so much pain. So the doctor gave him a tetanus shot, and the doctor gave him some pain medication. And the doctor said, if you're not better by next week, come back. So a week goes by, and he comes back, and now his thumb is still hurting. It's black and blue. It's 3 times the size normal, and now an infection has set in from the rusty nail. And so the doctor says, okay, Well, I'm going to give you some antibiotics for the infection, and I'm going to give you even stronger pain medicine for the pain, and I want you to come back next week if it's not better. So he comes back next week, and now his thumb is even bigger, and instead of black and blue, it's almost black, and gangrene has set in. And he says, I don't think I can help you. You need to go to the surgeon and probably get your thumb amputated. So he goes to the surgeon, and the surgeon looks at him and says, did anybody ever think to take the nail out? If you are living in an environment with non-compliant food, it's the same thing as having that rusty nail in your thumb. And you can go around the problem and underneath it and above it, but the environment is the number one predictor of your success. And if you are a private client of mine and do not allow me to come to your house with trash bags and throw everything away, we're not going to work together. So it's really, really hard to help people that won't do the first and most important thing. Enough said. I'm tired of talking about the environment.
She's a tough coach.
So I get a lot of people saying, can you do what I eat in a day videos? No, because I eat the same thing every day. I keep telling you about the concept that Dr. Rolls discussed on the teleclass with me. Listen to it, please, about sensory-specific satiety, that the more courses you eat, the more ingredients in the course, that the more you're going to overeat. So I keep my meals simple to one or two things. This is what I eat. And I wish that one day I could just have all the food out so you can see how much I eat in a day. I eat 8 pounds of food a day. 8 pounds, people. I eat way more at 115 than I did at 180 because I understand calorie density. And unless you are either in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, have seen that lecture, or have seen me do it elsewhere, if you do not understand calorie density as well as you can recite your phone number, you're probably not going to understand this and understand how a thin person can eat 8 pounds of food. But just briefly, Dr. Barbara Rolls, Penn State University, the person that has done the most research on the field of calorie density, where she studies human eating behavior in her lab at Penn State, who I've interviewed, who wrote the best-selling series of books, Volumetrics, said that most human beings eat 3 to 5 pounds of food per day. Now, that doesn't mean that I eat the same amount as Patrick Barboobie, the world's strongest vegan bodybuilder, strongest man in the world, but that every one of you watching eats the same amount of food per day per weight. And for some people it's 3 pounds, some it's 4, some it's 5. And if you want to consistently eat the same amount of food so that you don't feel hungry, but you want to lose weight, the only way to do that is to lower the calorie density, different than calories, the calorie density of the foods you eat. Because if you're eating animal products at 1,000 calories a pound, or nuts at 3,200 calories a pound, or oil at 4,000 calories a pound, or flour and sugar at 1,500 to 1,800 calories a pound, you're eating a diet that's very high in caloric density. If you're eating fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes, you're eating a very calorie dilute diet where nothing in your diet is over 600 calories a pound. Dean Ornish talked about this in his book in 1980, Eat More, Weigh Less. So if I don't eat 8 pounds of food a day, I'm going to lose weight, and that's how much I eat. But what am I eating for those 8 pounds? Because I sure wasn't eating 8 pounds of food a day when I was overweight and obese. I eat 3 pounds of non-starchy vegetables, which is I eat 4 pounds of non-starchy vegetables, which is roughly 400 calories. And remember, I only ask you guys to eat 2 if you're in Ultimate Weight Loss. Anything I ask you to do, I'm doing it or more. I eat 3 pounds of starch, and I eat a pound of fruit. So 4 pounds of non-starchy vegetables is roughly 400 calories, 3 pounds of starch is roughly 1,200 calories, and a pound of fruit is 200. So 400 plus 1,200 and plus 100, I'm so bad at math, that's 16, it's about 1,700. But sometimes the starch is a little bit higher depending on whether the starch I'm choosing is potatoes, sweet potatoes, or rice. So this is a starch-based program. I am eating about 75, anywhere between about 66% to 80% of my calories from starch, like Dr. McDougall recommends. But in terms of volume, it's more vegetables. So what I eat is, I think more important than what I eat is when I eat, and I don't time my meals. I don't believe in weighing and measuring or keeping on a schedule. I just interviewed a wonderful dietitian, Ryan Andrews, today, who wrote the book Drop the Fat Act, and he concurred with me that people have completely lost touch with their hunger and satiety signals, partly because they're eating for emotional reasons, they're eating distracted, and mainly because the diet they're eating lacks so much fiber and water that they can't sense their satiety signals and their stretch receptors. But if you eat when hungry and stop when full, and if you just learn that, you could almost eat anything. Now, I'm not recommending you eat a poor diet, but you would be much better off if you could learn that than just not knowing when you're hungry and full, because that's not true that you don't know, because Dr. Lyle has said in previous interviews, if you really didn't know that you were hungry, you would probably never eat, and if you didn't know when you're full, you wouldn't stop. So you need to really learn what is hunger, what is fullness, and going to the True North Health Center and fasting, you will learn pretty quickly to get in touch with your true hunger. So I get up between 5:30 and 6 in the morning, and I do not get hungry until probably at least 11, some days as late as 1 or 2. It depends on my activity, because when I'm just sitting at the computer, I'm not going to get hungry till 1 or 2. But when I go to my 90-minute spin class, as soon as I get off the bike, I'm hungry. So the first food I eat is 2 pounds of non-starchy vegetables. I've already cooked them, because if you're not prepared, if you're not willing to do batch cooking and preparation, you are going to fail. Fail to plan, plan to fail. Now, when I started Ultimate Weight Loss almost 6 years ago, everything had to be fancy and delicious with all the seasonings, and I did the balsamic Dijon glazed Brussels sprouts and the oven roasted ratatouille. Food is just such a non-issue for me now. I eat to live instead of living to eat. Food is just fuel that I want to eat as quickly, as cheaply as possible. So usually it's squash, because that's my favorite. Sometimes it's cauliflower or kale or broccoli, but I really love the zucchini, so I'll eat 2 pounds of it. Well, it's 67 calories per pound. That's like less than 150 calories. So I don't call it breakfast, except that it is breakfast, because that is what I've broken my fast on. I've already drank, by the way. I've already had my pot liquor. I've already had my hibiscus tea. And then I wait until hunger returns. And the minute hunger returns, then I get to eat the good stuff, which is the starch. Now, on a spin day, I might get hungry in 20 minutes. But on a day that I'm just sitting on my keister, it might take an hour or 2 for me to get hungry again. And that's when I eat my biggest meal of the day, which correlates to lunch for most people, and that's when I eat 1.5 pounds. This is weight after cooking, 24 ounces of either potatoes or sweet potatoes, and another pound, now my 3rd pound of non-starchy vegetables. Usually it's broccoli, because I love broccoli and roasted sweet potatoes. Now with the air fryer, I'm doing all kinds of things like making fries in the air fryer and things like that. But it can be any potato. Sometimes it's the Ann Esselstyn's potato salad. Sometimes it's my potato waffle, but it's always at least 1.5 pounds weight after cooking, because anything less than that, I'm going to be hungry. So then the longest stretch of time without food, other than sleeping till my first meal, is between lunch and dinner. And so then I will have my 4th pound of non-starchy vegetables. And usually it's something raw and crunchy like purple carrots or jicama, and that's just to kind of like quell my hunger, waiting for my husband Charles to get home so we can eat dinner together. And dinner is the most variety of the meals I have, because I keep breakfast and lunch the same every day. Then I never have to think about it. If you look at really successful geniuses like Steve Jobs and Albert Einstein, they wore the same thing every day, so they never had to think about what they're going to wear. And I eat the same thing for lunch, breakfast and lunch every day. Sure, there's some variations with the type of zucchini or the type of sweet potatoes, but that's basically the same. And then dinner, I just do something for the 21-day recipe guide that you get when you join Ultimate Weight Loss.
Just a quick time
Sure.
out here. You keep talking about these pounds and how much you eat, but again, someone's asking, do you weigh them?
No.
So again,
right, yeah, okay, so here's the thing. So I guess I assume that you've watched every episode, and I understand that that's not possible. I don't believe in weighing and measuring yourself or your food. And all the time I was losing weight, I never weighed or measured. I didn't know what I ate, because I ate when hungry, I stopped when full. Because when you understand calorie density and you're not using chemicals like sugar, oil, flour, salt, Diet Coke, alcohol, things like that, high-fat foods, you can eat what's called ad libitum, as much as you want, as often as you want, whenever you want, till comfortably full. So I just ate these huge amounts of food, but people kept
eating the right foods versus eating the wrong foods.
Right. See, because if you eat the right food, you don't have to worry about how much you're eating. But most people aren't eating the right foods. And so it was recently that people kept saying, because I get an influx of people from the weighing and measuring programs when they're so hungry and they can't sustain it, because they're used to like having these skimpy portions. How much do you eat? And the only reason I started getting these numbers for people, and maybe in the next 2 weeks I'll show you, is to explain to people that they're not eating enough. I'm eating 8 pounds of food a day to be as thin as I've ever been, very easily. And so you need to eat more food, but it has to be calorie dilute food. So I'm not weighing and measuring my food on a daily basis. But when people kept asking me, it's like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Well, I know that it's 2 pounds of zucchini, because that's what the bag says. I didn't have to like get a food scale. And with the potatoes, the receipt says how much it weighs. So I'm not sitting there weighing and measuring. Some days I don't finish, and if I don't finish, I finish later. But pretty much I always eat that. And so then for dinner, that's when I often have my huge salad, which is, again, is more vegetables that I didn't even mention in the 4 pounds that I've already eaten. So that's probably another pound of non-starchy vegetables, but there's always starch in it. All my meals are starch-based except for the first food of the day, which is non-starchy vegetables, which we talked about. Why? Because it sets the tone for the day, it builds the self-esteem, it helps eliminate cravings, especially if you'll do the dark green leafies. So for dinner, if I'm eating rice, it's usually 2 to 3 cups of rice in my salad, or with one of my recipes like smoky butternut bisque or sweet potato bisque or creamy curried kabocha squash soup, or any of the recipes you guys already have access to from YouTube, like red lentil chili or black bean mushroom chili. And so then if I'm still hungry, that's when I have my fruit, and I'll have fruit for dessert. And my favorite right now is the Envy apple, and those probably weigh a pound. And whenever I have salad, I'm putting fruit in my salad. So I'm getting between 1,700 and 1,900 calories a day. I am stuffed all the time. I am eating all day, and I'm eating huge volumes of food.
And you're still losing weight.
I know, I did. It's really hard to keep weight on if you eat this way, but people won't, because people want to drink their alcohol, and they want to eat their chocolate and drink their wine and eat their cheese and have their pizza, and that's fine. It's a trade-off. You can have whatever you want, so you've got to decide what's your priority. You know, people say, oh, but isn't it sad never having a treat? No, because when you have a body that you can be proud of and feel good in and don't have pain, every day you wake up is a treat. Going to the store and buying the smallest, cutest clothes off the rack when you've been a size 14, that's the treat. So, you know, the thing is if hunger's not the problem, food is not going to be the solution. And people are looking for answers in the wrong places.
Yeah.
So
we got lots of good questions and and again, we'll have more questions for next week.
Yep.
I keep thinking of other thoughts that I keep thinking of.
Well, write some questions. So
we'll be
about this. We won't be here next week live, but we will have a taped episode from Las Vegas with John Pierre, who's just an amazing resource when it comes to this, and I hope you'll watch. And if you have those questions, please send them to eatunprocessed.com. I'm Chef AJ. Thank you so much for watching episode 34 of Weight Loss Wednesday. I truly believe you can have both the health and the body that you so richly deserve, but you have to get the food right, and you have to get your environment right. Thanks so much.
And that's a wrap.
Bye.